Hey Bats, and welcome back to my channel. Disaster here, and I wanted to talk about A Realm Reborn. Now, I'm someone new to Final Fantasy XIV from World of Warcraft, and I did the skip. So I skipped A Realm Reborn and went right into Heavensward so I can more easily adapt to Final Fantasy. It's not something that I regret, but I did go back and do A Realm Reborn and postpatch, and this is what I have to say about it. So I hope you enjoy the video. But before we continue, I wanted to talk about my novel. I'm a writer. I write urban dystopic fantasy, and here's my first book. There we go. I bring the bite back to vampires with it, and if you were looking for a very high-action, gory novel, I do recommend myself. Anyway, let's get on with the video. So from levels 1 to 15, there wasn't much that ended up happening. It was just basically opening up the cities and everything like that, just getting used to the game. Not much reaction there. I don't remember too much from the Ulda quest chain, and I played Paladin, so the Paladin questline was fun. I don't remember much from it, other than being very surprised at the person who threw themselves off of the cliff. That was very interesting. Oh, that was for the Gladiator questline, but it was fun. Other than that, it was pretty predictable. I really liked getting my Paladin crown at the end, toward the end anyway, so I had fun with that. But yeah, not much of a reaction to that one either. Moving on to 15 to 20, I remember there was so many dungeons, about one per area. I think I had to do 3 in a row or something like that when I visited the cities, so that was a little bit annoying, but at the same time I understand why it happened. With the dungeons, I do appreciate the kind community. They were all very patient, and it was something that made the game really enjoyable. So, story, I don't remember much about it, but the community itself was very kind, understanding, and allowed me to watch the cinematics and such. Now, getting to 21 and 30 is when I started really paying attention to the game more. This is where I met the Sylphs in Gridania. I really like their design. They have some very interesting garden fairy designs. And I liked how they spoke. It was a lot of fun learning about them and trying to earn their trust and having to dance. So they were a good version of the fairies that we see in common myth. And during this time, we also learned about Alamico and those issues exploding when it comes to the Empire. It was interesting. It sets a good basis for the story. I do remember this one story with the Manor and this evil, mistress lady who was the final boss of the Manor dungeon. I did get lost in that dungeon, but I remember distinctly that I enjoyed it. It was really fun, and I love the dungeon design. So, yeah. Moving on to 31 to 40, we're in Limsa now. That collect quest for the pirate guy was very annoying and fun at the same time. I really wanted to go ahead and go kill the primal there, but I had to go collect cheese. And it left me wondering what exactly that cheese tasted like, They never actually explained it. I know it smelled apparently very, very vile, though. But you know how taste works. Sometimes it'll smell really bad, but end up tasting really good. Though I suppose at the end my character did have a chance to participate in the feast, so at least she knows how it tasted. Primal design-wise, I don't like Titan. I just... Compared to Ifrit, which I remember really enjoying, which is the first primal that I encountered, I forgot to mention him, but I liked him. He has a cool lizardy fire design. But Titan, Lord of the Crags, pass. I mean, it's not a very interesting primal design to me. I'm sure some people like him, but I didn't. Otherwise, I did enjoy the pirate theme, and moving on from that, we were able to explore Korthos for the first time in the Snowy Zone in Final Fantasy. Now, for 31 to 40, I did have one gripe. So we were following this Inquisitor dude, and we meet for the first time, what's his name? The Elezen in green. Okay, he's great. He's the one who ends up later starting the Firmament in Shadowbringers content. But anyway, so we help him. And the entire time, this Inquisitor guy is hounding us like crazy the entire time. And meanwhile, we're trying to take down a primal, right? The entire point of us being there is to work on getting the airship going and then going down and take our primal. And if he would have just not gotten involved or even help us on our way, then probably we wouldn't have run into these issues and discovered this big scandal on his part. So he was probably one of the dumbest villains that I've ever run into. because we weren't going against him from the beginning. We just wanted our bloody airship, right? Like, we weren't focused on Ishgard. Ishgard was shoving everyone away. We could have gone on our merry ways, and he could have been continuing his villainy if only he helped us, but he didn't. And he ended up getting caught by us because he kept interfering. He was really annoying. So I thought he was a pretty bad villain. Moving on to 41 to 50, I really liked the Curious Case of the Giggity quest. I don't remember what happened, but I remember laughing at the quest name because Giggity. And then Garuda. I really liked Garuda's primal design. Really nice, especially compared to the Lord of the Crags. So Garuda and Ifrit are big yeses in my book. Titan, absolutely not. Not at all. And then we got to learn a lot about Sid in this. I really love Sid's story. He's a really cool character. Him and his airship, his backstory, pretty much live free through technology. I really like it. Everything about him, Biggs and Wedge. It was Biggs and Wedge. Biggs and Wedge. I forget Wedge's name sometimes, so that was a little bit of a stumble on my part. But yeah, I enjoyed their relationship and everything. It was fun learning about everything. Then we got to the raid and the Ultima Weapon. I remember really enjoying Nero and following him through A Realm Reborn. I'm a Nero fangirl, love his design. It was fun beating him up in the Praetorium. I loved learning about Maggie. That was a very fun quest line, and how the machine ended up gaining sentience through the Aether. I really liked that. It was a lot of fun. I ended up doing the Praetorium prior to learning any of these stories, so learning the story and then going back and doing the Praetorium made it a lot more fun, even if my sound during the stream was a bit messed up. Gaius was a lot of fun. What does the pirate say? Arg. I love doing that in the Praetorium. But the only problem with Gaius is it looks like he has some Christmas ornaments on his horns, and now I don't think I'm going to ever be able to unsee that, so. And now, to progress into ARR post-patch, I believe it's the last half patch of A Realm Reborn. A few quests are locked by the Crystal Tower questline. Before Shadowbringers, I remember watching a video on YouTube about it, so I do remember enjoying the Crystal Tower questline. And Grahatia. That was a lot of fun. I do not like the raid requirements, though, and how we have to do 4 raids for that. It was annoying. I didn't really run into problems, but I was just a bit grumpy about it. It is required content, though, and I can see why other people would be grumpy about it. But the story itself was very cool. Love the whole darkness themes and everything, and the look of the final dark boss in that. So, a lot of cool designs, at least, I can say that. And now I'm going to do a little bit of my summary of my thoughts. These are a bit discombobulated. I went a little bit out of order, but the first thing I want to say is I can understand now why everyone likes Minfilia. She is a really cool character, and it was a tragedy as the game progressed. As to what happened, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but Minfilia, very cool in my book, very caring. I liked her a lot as a character, I have to say. So, this is a disclaimer, alright? Like, in the very beginning of A Realm Reborn, before we learned anything about them, and before I could fall in love with all the Scions, I didn't like them that much. Alphino especially, I thought he was a little bit stuck up. Alize we didn't get to see much of, but we know she ran off because she didn't believe in the politics of the situation and just wanted to get stuff done. Classic Alize, so I can't hate her for that. Urianger, we don't get to see enough of. He was very cute in AR post-patch, though. I did like him. Y'shtola had her normal amount of sass, so I did like her, and I'll talk about her in a minute. And Thancred, I see why Chatcred is a thing, basically. He doesn't change much, but Alphino was the major, oh, come on, buddy. Especially with the Crystal Braves, but I'll get into that later. One thing I did want to mention was Y'shtola and Lady M, the leader of Limsa, and their interactions. I thought that was fascinating. I could see where both of them were coming from, actually. It was a very good conflict point. I do lean towards siding with Y'shtola a little bit more, and how the people of Limsa did cause this, and cause the beast races to become desperate. But I also understand Lady M, or Meryl, I don't know how to pronounce her name very well. I've heard it in game, but I can't remember. And her reaction to Y'shtola, though, we can't just lay down and let it happen. Yes, it's our fault, but what are we gonna do? So I can see both sides of this. I can see Y'shtola's a little bit more than Lady M's. There's not really an easy solution. Some beast tribes simply do not want to get along with anyone. And understandably so, in some cases. But I do like, I think Echelon 9, Echelon 9, I don't remember, something 9, with the Ixal Beast Tribe quest in A Realm Reborn, where we do work with the Ixal, who are like, we do not support Garuda and false, not false god, but one that just takes and takes and takes, is greedy. They just want to touch the sky and just soar, really. That's their goal, is to go to this city in the sky or something. And I've been going through that Beast Tribe quest and having a lot of fun. It's a really good story. I really like the story of that Beast Tribe quest. And I remember progressing through Final Fantasy, the entire game, wondering if there were like good Beast Tribes, and my lover assured me that there were. And I got to experience that firsthand with the Ixal Beast Tribe in A Realm Reborn with my crafts. And I really enjoyed that. It was a really enjoyable experience. So, something I really liked. I'm going to do more Beast Tribe quests. I really like the Beast Tribes. Really good lore, so. Now we're going to move on to the post-patch. So, my first thoughts on that were Good King Moogle. Absolutely love it. That's my favorite music in the game. Well, second favorite music. The other one is in Shadowbringers, and that's all I'll say. It's a spoiler. I think I said it in another video. But anyway, Good King Moogle, learning about the lore there was really fun. About how, and this is the first time we learn about when you can kind of use your beliefs and thoughts to summon these primal-like beings. And all things considered, Good King Moogle was a primal. Everyone's like, on the fence about it, but I think we decided in the end that he was a form of a primal, which was really interesting. And then seeing aggressive Moogles was a lot of fun. Leviathan's design was really neat. I loved Leviathan's design. And the song that goes with him, really fun. All in all, it was fun. I remember wiping on Leviathan, though. I was a tank, and I was assigned to the tail. And people didn't do the switches or something in the raid, and we ended up wiping once, but then we did it properly the second time, so. But it was fun. I don't know how I'm going to do if I ever try it on the later modes, or the harder modes, but we'll see. So Ramuh, I really liked Ramuh. That's the Sylph Primal. He has a very cool design, very large beard, very impressive beard. But his mentality is what I wanted to focus on. So he's very protective of the Sylphs, and I can see why. And he has this mentality that men are all terrible and are destroying the forest, and I honestly cannot blame him, even though I disagree with him, because he saw the worst of humanity, and obviously man can do good. But I can't blame him at all for his thoughts, and I really like how it ended with the trial. He does seem like the wisest of primals, and the most caring. And I like how in the end, we gained his favor in defeating him in combat, and it wasn't like, oh, we just destroyed your god. It was more like, we earned your respect, and now we're gifted this responsibility, and we better take it seriously. And I've always been a big fan of nature themes, and Gridania has to be one of my favorite cities in Final Fantasy, so it was really cool to see that. Love caring for the forests and animals. So, I like that. It was a very good story, and I liked it a lot. The Chasing Ivy questline showed just how unstable Ul'dah was, which was very interesting to watch, and how the Garlean Empire can infiltrate, and how dangerous that is. It was a fun mystery, trying to figure that out. And of course, it just shows, again, the instability of Ul'dah, I think, is the most unstable in A Realm Reborn of the cities, as we could see at the end of the patch. As we approach the end, I remember the Chrysalis. I had many wipes on that raid, fighting that Ascian, and man, I think I wiped 5 times. First, I didn't know what I was doing as a tank, then I realized that I had to stand under the meteors. We got the orbs part pretty well, but then people weren't limit breaking on that meteor falling part where you're teleported, so that was the other issue, but we eventually got it, and it was a good feeling. So that was the biggest roadblock that I faced, even more so than later Final Fantasy. I think that's the one that I wiped on the most. So, but it was fun learning the mechanics, and people weren't being impatient. They were very kind and patient, so I'm very happy about that. Monobrea's death was very heartbreaking. Ooh, excuse me. I feel bad for Rianje. Clearly, he had a very strong connection. But yeah, I liked Monobrea. I thought that she was a really cool character. And I loved just how tough she was, but at the same time intelligent. So it was a loss. It was really interesting learning about the lore and what it takes to actually destroy an Ascian soul. Very alarming. A lot of stuff. It looks like a life for a death, as Midsamger said. I know, I butchered the name, sorry. Large dragon that was reborn said, so Yeah. And then I do feel like it was a good setup to Heavensward with King Thoradin the 7th there, and showing the Ascian there. Something that I did not initially see going into Heavensward, so that was a little bit of tidbit of knowledge, pre-knowledge, that I learned, but not until later in Heavensward, because I skipped A Realm Reborn. So, my final notes that I didn't really get to mention throughout was learning about the Ascians was neat, and basically a bit more about them and their immortal souls and how they work. They definitely drill that into you, which is fine. It was fun. I'm learning about how general mortals work too. They have a rebirth system, and I like that. I like it a lot. It also makes the Dothral kind of correct, doesn't it? That's later Stormbringers content. It's not really a spoiler. You'll see. Anyway, Elidibus is interesting for sure. I don't know what their deal is, but we're gonna see clearly very soon. Hopefully an Endwalker. The dislike of the Garlean Empire is definitely getting drilled into our heads here. That's important to note, and just how conquery they are and how bad it is, and we'll learn more about that in Stormbringers as well, of course. I like how they bridge things between expansions. And I was really passionate about the Sultana and her death and how they all blamed it on my character. I was like yelling at the screen, "No, Xaela, my character, she's innocent, how dare you!" So it was a lot of fun. It was, you're on the edge of your seat, it's very tense and everything, wondering what's going to happen, how are we going to get out of this? And we figured that out. And then, of course, I obviously am playing now, but it seems like people were left thinking their favorite scions might have been slain or something for a number of months, so that was a pretty major cliffhanger there, but I was able to move on right away. Toward the very end, seeing the Crystal Braves betrayal, getting back to Ishgard, hanging out with Honchefront, and how he ended up helping us throughout actually the base of ARR, but especially now, and how he's going to help us more, so I can see the connection definitely being made there. But it was good to see Alphinaud taken down a notch, because he was right, he messed up big time, and we saw through Heavensward that he paid for it, but we mended it, and he matured quite a bit, which was nice. And I'm going to finish things off with mentioning my like for Final Fantasy's skeletons. Sort of random, but, it's mid-August and it's almost Halloween. Yes, I'm one of those people. But really, I like how Final Fantasy makes the skeletons sound. Like, they're actually really creepy. I remember hearing them for the first time, and they have this hee-hee-hee, like, I can't mimic it, laughter that's very eerie. And I thought that they captured the really rattling laugh well. They did a really good job with it, so I liked how they did that. So, now to answer the question I'm sure everyone's waiting for, do I regret the skip that I did from A Realm Reborn? And I'm going to talk about the pros and cons real fast. I do not regret the skip. Again, I'm coming from World of Warcraft, which made the transition a bit hard. A Realm Reborn I could not get into. I started in Heavensward, and that's how I was able to build a relationship with the game and get connected. And all of this I had in mind I was going to go back and do A Realm Reborn, which I did, and I learned all of the story. The disadvantages are obvious. I did not have as much context to the story that I did go through, but going back to doing A Realm Reborn did give me a lot of that missing context. It didn't make me miserable. It made me know what was going to happen in A Realm Reborn quite a bit. But I don't regret doing it. I mean, I'm fine with learning a story out of order. I know some people aren't, so if you're not okay with learning the story out of order, I do not recommend this. But if you're okay with not having as much context and learning about the context later, I think it's fine, especially if you need to use this as a strategy to get attached to the game more. But I will say you should go back and do A Realm Reborn if you're planning on having a connection to the story, because a lot of these connections are made, and to the scions but in particular. And you might have seen in my more previous videos when I talked about the scions, I didn't really focus on Minfilia as much, and in this one I'm mentioning how she's a great character. You really get a good basis for Minfilia in this expansion, in A Realm Reborn and its post-patch. You get to see the origins of Alphinaud, of Y'shtola, and exactly what happens in regard to all of this, with relation to all of this. Raoban's story, something really important. We learn a lot about him, too. So you get a good basis for everything. So you should go back and do the story, or at least figure out some way to learn the story, summarize or something, but it's the best to probably go through it yourself. And all in all, I had a good time. There were a lot of slow moments, certainly. It did take a while, and I'm really happy to be back in Shadowbringers content. Currently, I'm doing the post-patch content, and I'm excited about that. I'm almost done with 5.1. I'm going to be going through over the next few weeks to get caught up to Endwalker. And something that distracted me from my journey was crafting. I'm going to try to become an omni-crafter. I know, it was absolutely crazy. I've already gotten my gathering up to the above 70s, so mining and botany. And then I believe I've gotten all of my crafts up to 40 or above. Almost all of them are 60, so it's been quite the journey. Oh goodness, it's been quite the journey. But I can make another video on that entirely. I've got my apartment set up. I want to go housing sometime soon, but I'm excited. I'm super excited. I'm a big role player at heart. I can't wait to design like my house or role play areas, so it's gonna be great. So thank you for sticking with me. I took a while because real life is a bit, tough right now, but I'm enjoying this. And yeah, if you enjoy this video, please like and subscribe, comment below about what your thoughts are, and I will talk about some more Final Fantasy content in the future. Thank you.